The diode laser market has changed a lot over the last couple of years. The first ones that came out were kind of sketchy, a lot of DIY builds. Some were even add-ons to CNC machines. And none of them were that great. And then the year after that, more companies started developing their own and having sturdier frames, higher speeds, and the last year has been focused a lot on laser power, going from 5 to 10 to 20, and now we even have 40-watt diode lasers. But the current trend right now has to do with safety and high-end features, such as autofocus and curved surface engraving. And in terms of safety, laser companies are now putting their lasers into permanent enclosures, making them a Class 1 laser. For this video right now, I'm going to be pitting two different diode lasers against each other, and both these lasers are the essential new kids on the block. First, we have the Wecreat Vision, and we also have the xTool S1. Both lasers are relatively similar in terms of their capabilities and their laser power. I have the 20 watt for both currently. I know it's not going to be complete apples to apples comparison, but I think they're close enough in category that it makes sense to compare them. And maybe you'll find out which one is best for your shop, especially if you're in the market for a laser. Now, full disclosure ahead of time, Wecreat is sponsoring and paying me to make this video, but they are not paying me for what to say. The comparison I'm making and the claims that I'm making are all my own. They are not influenced or delegated by Wecreat. They're just the ones that want to see this head-to-head comparison between the S1 and their new laser, the Wecreat Vision. All right, so before we talk about the differences between the two machines, let's talk some similarities, because both machines do have quite a bit in common. First of all, they are both enclosed laser systems, which makes them a Class 1 laser. They both have either a lid or enclosure that has a special plexiglass on it to filter out any of those harmful laser rays, so you don't need to use those gorgeous green glasses anymore. Something else they have in common: both versions of the lasers that I have here have a 20 watt laser installed, which makes them pretty much head-to-head. Although the xTool one, you can change it out for different versions, but I don't have those right here. So it's 20 watt versus 20 watt. Both machines also have their own proprietary software that makes use of all the special features of each machine, and each one does have a couple different special features that are pretty unique to each machine. But they can also work with light burn in a limited capacity. So similar, different, and also similar. They both have Wi-Fi capabilities as well, where you can set up a file, communicate with the machine wirelessly, so you don't have to be tethered to it. And in some circumstances, you can also set up the file remotely, although you can't run it remotely. You need to be in front of the machine to push the button to start the job on the xTool S1 and the Wecreat Vision, which is good because safety. You should always be in the same room of the laser engraving and or cutting. Both machines also come natively with air assist and exhaust built into the machine, which is nice because they used to be add-on features before for the previous generation, but now it's included in the box. In some instances, you might want to add an additional exhaust fan to better pull out the smoke, and that goes for both machines actually. But you can always add that on separately and not included, additional cost. Same for both. Both machines also have the capability of using a rotary. One small difference with this, they have the capability though, the rotary comes native with the Wecreat Vision, and you can use it with the xTool S1 as an additional purchase along with the riser base that's required for the rotary. So once again, similar, slight difference there, but they both have that capability. And finally, both machines have an advertised engrave speed of 600 millimeters per second. So like I said, the machines have a lot in common. Now let's talk about some of the differences. There are quite a few differences between the S1 and the Wecreat Vision. Let's cover some of the basic ones, and we'll talk about the ones that have to do with features and are going to relate a little bit more to your experience using the machine. So first, let's take a look at working area, which I'm going to state really quick for everybody out there that's looking at buying a laser. Take a look at the manufactured advertised working size and reduce it about 1 inch in both directions, because I have yet to see any laser company really accurately show what their real working area is. And there's a big difference between what material size will fit in the machine and what the actual engrave or working area is on the machine. It's actually quite a bit less usually. So let me show you this and you'll see a good comparison of the xTool versus the Wecreat. The xTool has an advertised working area of about 19.5 by 13 inches, but in reality it's more 18 by about 12, which is still a decent size, but it is a tad bit less than what they advertise, simply because of the range of travel for the laser and where the laser will actually reach on your workpiece. Wecreat has an advertised working area of 6.5 by about 11.5. So a little bit smaller than the S1, but not by much. But also good on Wecreat because they actually have both sizes published of the material size that'll fit in, which is roughly 18.7 by 12.5. But the working size, once again, is a little bit smaller. And it's always a pain because it's really hard to estimate the working area versus the material that will fit in. I wish they would actually better mark that inside their machines. That goes for everybody, across the board. One big difference between both machines is the engraving height. We're going to put a little asterisk next to this one and I'll tell you why in a moment. So one of the key features of the Wecreat Vision is the automated focus that allows the machine to raise up and lower depending on the focal distance needed for your work, whether it's a cut or engrave or working on the rotary. The max engrave distance between the head of the laser and the surface of your workpiece is roughly about 140 millimeters, which also comes out to about 5.5 inches. That's a pretty good height and should be able to handle most of what people typically engrave. I don't think I've really engraved anything more than about 2 or 3 inches anyways. So it's probably a pretty good roundabout height for a machine. Now the xTool, on the other hand, has a height of roughly about 2 inches. But here's where the asterisk comes in. That height can be expanded to about 133 millimeters or roughly about 5 inches with the addition of the riser base. So it'll have the capability, but it's also an additional cost, something else you have to buy in order to add it on to give it that capability. Wecreat has it right out of the box. The next point of comparison comes down to the features of the machine. So one of the main things that differentiates this machine, other than the obvious, so appearance, footprint, included accessories like being able to engrave thicker material and have a rotary. The main feature that I would say really separates both machines has to do with your ability to place objects on a work area and how you focus. So both machines have a form of autofocus. The xTool uses a probe that touches the surface of material and then goes and calibrates itself and gives you the result that way. The Wecreat uses a laser focus system where it has a laser that will measure the distance between the laser and the surface of the machine. It will adjust the height of the machine based on that. And I will say that with my experience with the machine, it's actually quite interesting in terms of its autofocus. And there's been times where I've measured material and it comes back and gives me the different number. So it actually has a pretty accurate, especially from the testing that I've done, it has a really accurate depiction of focus. Probably one of the best that I've seen. The xTool is also pretty accurate, but for a different reason, because it uses the probe. Whether the laser's better or the probe is better, that I honestly don't know. They both seem to work pretty well. I do like the actual feedback from the Wecreat in terms of what that actual focus distance is, because it gives me a numerical value then I can use to adjust or make note of for future projects. The other main difference between the machines has to do with the way you place the material. The xTool uses a 2-point or multi-point position system in order to give you a working area, and then you place your work within that work area. That's the way a lot of the high-end lasers do it. I've seen it used in a lot of the large-scale CO2 lasers. Some of the 60, 80, and even 100 watts use a similar setup. But the Wecreat has a camera. Now, here is one point of contention for a lot of people. And at the end, I'll kind of give you my take on this. Once again, like I said in the beginning of the video, this video is being paid for by Wecreat, but they are not telling me what to say. So I guarantee that everything that I say is from my own experience. So the camera on the Wecreat is actually really good. And I've used cameras in other systems that I really don't like, especially ones like the Glowforge. It's probably the most notorious. And I think their camera system is horrible. But the Wecreat is really accurate. And I've had really good success with it so far. And it is such a huge convenience for being able to see your workpiece in the machine and setting up everything based on that. There are some arguments and there are some discrepancies about the accuracy of the camera, and I have not encountered that yet. I know that there's some tests that have been done where accuracy can actually degrade as you move towards the edge of any given work area, and that's just because of the curvature of the camera, where there might be a little bit of a degrading of accuracy. But I will also say that most jobs that I've run and most people I see using the machines engrave pretty close to the center anyways. So if that's a concern for you, there is a little bit of a fix for that and just making sure to keep things center. There can also be a loss in quality of any engrave or cut when you get toward the edge anyways, and I've seen this at other machines, and that has to do simply with the travel of the laser. I know some people are going to call me out saying that's wrong, but I've seen it happen on multiple machines. It could be something else responsible for it, but I've seen it happen. In both cases, you're probably better off speed-wise and accuracy-wise for whatever machine you use to try to have things more in the center of the bed anyways. So both work. The camera is a huge convenience factor though. So I'm going to somewhat try to place myself between both machines for this next shot, because as far as I'm concerned, this is the primary difference between both machines. And that's really because I can pretty much get the same result of whatever I want out of either machine. They're both 20 watts. They both have roughly the same engrave speed. The software will allow for pretty much the same type of function, with one exception, and that is that the xTool S1 will engrave curved surfaces. It's a pretty complex process. Complex in terms of what it can do, not in terms of the setup. But it is an additional feature that the Wecreat does not have. Whether that matters to you is kind of up to you. I honestly don't know how often I'm going to use it. I kind of like that it's there, but I'm still kind of up in the air about it. So the one difference that I think really matters between the two has to do with how you place the material on the work surface in order to get your work set up and start your job. The xTool S1, and I know I'm saying it over and over again, but there's so many xTool machines, I want to make sure that it's clear. We're talking about only the S1 here. Uses a multi-point position system. So I say multi-point because they just updated their software. So this will work with more shapes than just a rectangle. The idea behind this is that you log one corner of a workpiece and then the opposite corner if we're talking about the rectangle. And it measures that distance and draws a work area within the software. And then you take whatever you're going to cut or engrave and place it inside that area, so that area represents your workpiece. And I like it. It works really, really well. I have not had any issues with it so far, but it does have one small shortcoming, especially if you're used to a different way of doing this. And that is that you have a representation of your work. You're not actually able to see your workpiece in the software. It's not 100% necessary. In fact, I know that this method is what's used on a lot of the higher end CO2 machines for the 60, 80, and 100 watts. It's done in a similar manner. So it's not a deal breaker by any means. It is accurate, but there feels to be a little bit of a separation between what you're doing in the software and your physical work. The Wecreat, on the other hand, uses a camera. And the camera and the camera accuracy is a point of contention for a lot of different people. And I'll talk about that really quickly because I do have experience with this as well. With the camera, you're able to see your actual work surface in the software. You're able to take your engrave or whatever work that you're going to be doing, whether it's a cut, engrave, or combination of both, and place it on your workpiece through the depiction on the camera. And if you're a visual person, if you're not as technical as some people, that visual relationship is great. It works so much better for a lot of people. My wife included. I've mentioned before in other videos that my wife and I run a business. We do a lot of laser engraved goods, tumblers, things for schools, and we've done this for a couple years now. And I might do a lot of the initial testing, but my wife goes and actually runs a lot of the jobs. And the camera is really helpful for her, especially when you're trying to make sure that you get as much out of all your material as possible and not waste. The camera's a really good way of doing that. I know I'm talking a lot, but this is actually a really important part. There's some contention about the camera and the accuracy, and that there is a degrading accuracy as you move towards the edges. I've also experienced that, although with the Wecreat, it's much better than any other machine I've used. The camera system on the Glowforge, I think, is complete crap. And I think that's kind of what put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. It's not quite the same issue here. If you're trying to center something on a workpiece, there might be a little bit of experimentation needed. But I've kind of had that same experience with all machines where you have to test first anyways. So for usability, if you're new to lasers, if you are a more visual person, then the Wecreat Vision's method is probably going to be best for you. If you want to see some more details about the Wecreat Vision, go ahead and check out the 2 previous videos I posted regarding it. One engraving a tumbler, and the other one is a general unboxing and overview of the machine where I run a couple different projects. And you'll get a sense of what it's like to use it in those. The same goes for the xTool. I think they are both really good and capable machines. But now, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna declare a winner here. I don't want to say that one is 100% better than the other, even though I'm sure Wecreat would love for me to do that. Instead, I'm gonna say what I always say. I want you to choose the best machine for your shop that's gonna help you complete the work and projects that you want to create. And as of right now, and I know this sounds self-serving, but it is absolutely true. As of right now, these 2 machines are the ones that are going to be permanent in my shop in their current spaces. All the other machines that I've had have been put away. Some are getting sold off. Having a Class 1 laser where I don't have to wear the green glasses, I don't have to worry about the safety of my family coming to the garage, is exactly what I've been looking and waiting for. And both machines are rivaling my $5,000 CO2 machine over there that I'm also going to be selling and getting rid of because I can't stand that thing. And even with a 20-watt laser, it's cutting through all the material that I'm throwing at it. I'm getting almost no burning, no smoking, and the pieces look great. I've talked on for probably way too long. I hope I've given enough information in order to help you best make your decision. One quick thing though, and one final thought. And that is something that I have not talked about yet. And this might be the final nail in the coffin for whatever decision you are going to make. And that is price. So let's talk dollars and cents. Now, I don't think the price difference is that great initially, but I also don't want to be disrespectful in terms of what you consider a lot of money or what you consider to be of value. So, as of right now, and these numbers are going to change slightly because the holidays are coming and there's always sales going on, but based on when I pull these prices, these are the current prices for the machine. So the base cost of the Wecreat is $1,449, so $1,449. The base price for the xTool S1 is $1,699. So we're talking about a difference of roughly about $200. Yes, that's right. So we're looking at about a difference of about $200. But something else to keep in mind. That is the base cost for both. Now, why am I saying it that way? I'm saying that because remember the Wecreat Vision does not need a riser base. It already has the raising and lowering mechanism you need to engrave different thickness of materials. And it comes with the rotary, with a permanent mounting point inside, which is kind of an additional bonus. Once again, check my previous video where I do the review of the machine and engrave the tumbler, and you'll see an example of that. So there's nothing extra to buy for the Wecreat, and it comes in well under the xTool. The xTool, if you want the similar capability of the rotary and the increased engraving height, you have to buy the riser base and you have to buy the rotary. If you want to add on the rotary and the riser base for the xTool S1, you're looking at about $500 more. So the real difference in price between both with comparable specs is $21.99 for the xTool S1 and $14.99 for the Wecreat Vision. You decide what's best for your shop. I ultimately want you to get the machine that is best for your needs. And as always, if you have any questions about any of the material in my videos, any of the lasers, please feel free to add something in the comments and I'll answer the best I can. A lot of people have been reaching out to me lately with questions about the different machines and different settings, and I love fielding and answering those questions the best I can. I love helping to be part of this community and helping everybody achieve some sort of success with the projects that they're trying to do. And you guys are creating a lot of cool stuff out there. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and check out my back catalog of videos. I'm sure that you'll find something of interest there for you. And it's not just laser stuff. I have a lot of DIY and geek related builds that I'm hoping to get back to once some of the laser videos die down. But go ahead and check that out. And go ahead and subscribe. That way you can get notifications of when I release new content. And your eyes and views are much appreciated. And if you'd like to support the channel, we have a Patreon. And right now our Patreon is in full swing. I'm posting videos, I'm posting files. If you become a Patreon member, you get all the files that I'm posting for free. Some are engraved and image type files, and others are going to be cut and other project type files as well. And I'm looking at expanding that a lot in the next few months. Well, I think that's enough for this video. So don't forget to design, make, and play, and I will see you next time.